Hello and welcome to SoBricks. I'm Adam and this is SoBricks. This is my channel for reviewing Lego sets and building them and other Lego related stuff. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the Lego Technic Ford Bronco SUV set. This is set number 42213. It has 943 pieces and I paid $65 for this set. So I believe this was an August 1st release of 2025. It released alongside a bunch of other sets. There were so many sets that came out on August 1st, 2025. And it released alongside some other Technic sets. I believe this is kind of in that mid-scale where like the Hurricane and the I think the Koenigsegg like Jesco and some other things kind of in that $50-$60 range, that kind of scale for Technic vehicles, maybe similar to the Jeep Wrangler from a while ago. I think a similar scale to that, although maybe not exactly the same. I thought this was interesting because 943 pieces for $65 feels pretty good, even if it's like Technic. You know, we know there's like a lot of pins in here and different stuff like that. It still seemed somewhat reasonable if I compare it to, you know, the Chevrolet Stingray that came out. It's got like 700 pieces for $60. Aston Martin Valkyrie, 700 pieces for $65. There was the Fast and Furious Toyota Supra for $60 with 810 pieces. So this one has like a lot of pieces. The Ferrari FXXK is 900 or 800 some pieces for 65. And then like previously, like the Bugatti Bolide had 900 pieces for $50 and could be pretty readily bought for like $40. I also think there was one that came out, and I think it's a Volvo sort of construction equipment, I want to say, that released at the same time as this. Now, I'm not 100% sure. It's not the excavator. It's not the other like big set. There is a, oh yeah, there's a Volvo L120 electric wheel loader, which is 973 pieces. I believe that released August 1st, 2025. So 973 pieces, 30 more pieces in this, but that one is basically twice the price at $120. Now, I don't know if that's because it has some electronics in it, or motors in it. It may, or it may not. I mean, it may just all be, you know, gears and turns and knobs and different things. So kind of interesting there to see the difference in price. Now, I am interested in looking at that, that electric wheel loader. I don't know if it has anything, you know, occasionally you'll see there's a set in the Technic line, like the Porsche GT4 e-Performance race car, 830 pieces. So 100 fewer pieces in this for $170, but that is because it has like sort of RC capabilities, like remote control capabilities, could actually be driven around and things like that. So there's like a big range here. The Kawasaki Ninja motorcycle, 643 pieces, so 300 fewer pieces than this, up at the $85 mark. So there's just a wide range. Maybe that has to do with partners. Maybe that has to do with specific pieces and recolors and all this different stuff. I think it's interesting. All that's said is this struck me as like a pretty good deal based on like the amount of building that would be in here and the relative size of this. So I was really looking forward to this. It's rare to see like 943 pieces even in Technic for, you know, $60 or $65. So I'm excited to look at this, and so that's what we're going to do. So in this video, I'm going to open this up, I'm going to put this together, and then I'm going to share my thoughts on it. So while I build, I will speed the video up, and then I'll slow it back down to review this set. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the build for this Lego Technic Ford Bronco SUV set, I just wanted to say thanks for watching, and then remind you, if you like this video, click the thumbs up. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button. There's some fun things that happen in this video near the end, and maybe stick around. I know it's kind of a long one, but my videos tend to be. And then I wanted to talk about the build. So this actually is like really dense and very fun and complex and nice. We already have the engine block built there. So you get that kind of V6 in there. And there's some really good techniques, really good piece usages in here. We're adding kind of the suspension and then sort of the steering mechanism that is going to be for the front axles there, which is really, really nice. And actually, like, we're already on the second bag of pieces, and we're still very, much building in that front sort of wheel base. And it's dense. There's a lot of mechanisms that need to be built properly so they work at the end, and there's some really, really good kind of like elevation changes and gear changes and reductions and increases and all this different stuff that I think is really nice. We're kind of getting the actual like chassis, kind of the main sort of body of at least the floor of this, the bottom of this that holds all of it together here. And then we're working on the gearbox and the rear axle. Again, there's like really dense building here at the rear, which I thought was really nice. And it does have to kind of have the axles go all the way through the bottom into the front and change a little bit such that it allows the steering as well as the engine kind of drive to function properly, which I thought was really, really good. Some good piece usages in here. There were a couple pieces in this set that I didn't recognize immediately, so that was kind of exciting. Of course, like any other Technic build, there's a lot of pins, there's a lot of bushings, axles, different pieces, small pieces. And here we can actually start seeing the shape of this come together. So those black pieces that we just added on, those kind of archway pieces, those are something that I don't know if I had seen before. Here we're working on the hood, which is its own kind of like sub-assembly that we get together and has a really nice kind of hinge function there. We add on these kind of fender pieces, and then those actually interact in a cool way with those black pieces we already put on there. There's sort of a groove in those, and we kind of get those together, which makes a really nice trim, really nice kind of fender design there. So I thought that was great. We add on some stickers. There are stickers in this set, stickers for the front grille, the logo, the lights, stuff like that, which is fine. And we already have the like seats in there. The front end is looking very good, and we can build up more of the structure for the sides, like the little step area just beneath the door, and then we can work on the area at the rear. So we kind of get the suggestion of a like rear seat back, I want to say. At least that's how I interpreted this. Even though it's a two-door vehicle, there sort of is some seats in the back perhaps. And we're working on the rear door and the rear bumper and stuff like that. So a couple other, like a Ford sticker and a Bronco sticker there. And again, we use those nice kind of trim pieces throughout there. And the door at the rear does not open or close or anything, and that's because we have some functions that extend out through the back, but that is okay, and it's actually worth it in my opinion. And this is already like getting close to the end. I thought the pace for this was really interesting because it was so dense and involved for most of like the core of this. And then once you start getting the shape on, and once you start getting the panels on, it seems to go rather quick in my opinion. So that's not a bad thing necessarily, but just something to make note of. We're working on the roof panel here, which again, these are pretty straightforward, comes together really, really quick. It looks nice, not a lot of off colors seen from like the top down view, at least in that angle. And then onto the next bag of pieces, we are actually going to build the doors. I liked how these sub-assemblies were done, and the kind of connection that they did to make the hinge I thought was very strong and really, really smooth and very minimal gaps, and I just liked how it came together. It was very satisfying to put those sub-assemblies together. A little bit of tiling out on the hood there for some extra detail, add on the mirrors, and then we are going to add on the wheels. And the last little bit here is actually kind of like an accessory type thing, which is this sort of like rack or rails up on the roof, as well as like a light bar, and then some traction boards which use some more stickers there. Those could easily be taken off or removed, so not a big deal. And that is everything. So now on to my review for this set. Okay, so this is the Lego Technic Ford Bronco SUV set. This is really, really Cool. I liked building this a lot. I didn't have a ton of trouble like the last Technic set I looked at, which was the old Pit Droid Star Wars one. That one gave me a lot of trouble. This one came together, smoothly, and I'm pretty impressed. There's a lot of like intricacy in here. It was a super enjoyable build. I thought the pace was actually kind of interesting because it felt like it was going, well, it sort of settled into a pace, and then the end is relatively quick. Overall, I think it took me maybe an hour and a half to put this together. I wasn't going crazy fast. I also wasn't going extremely slow. It felt like it was okay and about appropriate for this size set. So I'm really happy to dig into this, and we will just get right to it. There are no figures in this set. It is a Technic set, and there's not Technic figures anymore. I do want to say also, apologies, I have a bandage on my thumb, so if that's distracting or gross or anything, I am sorry, but that is what it is. This is really, really great. So I don't have my Jeep, like whatever, I think it was a Wrangler, to compare this to, but it's about the same size as those, as well as like the other kind of Technic middle sets here, like the Bolide and the Hurricane and things of that nature. It is a truck, so it is like certainly taller, but it fits in that similar kind of scale, which I think is pretty nice. I don't know in real life if the Bronco is similar in size to like a Wrangler, for example, but this feels really, really good. And I thought the build was super fun. I don't know if there's any, well, it felt to me as if there were new pieces. I'm not sure if they're new for this or if they're new from a couple of the other like Lego Technic cars that I haven't looked at yet that I still would like to, but there were some new pieces in here. There are some stickers. So the sticker sheet is over here. I'll kind of point those out. Kind of any detail sort of thing is going to be a sticker, but not too many. This is a relatively small sticker sheet here. There's also not like prints. So in this instance, so 6 of the stickers up here, these bigger ones, are just used on the top for these like traction board pieces up there. So the stickers are like the same on each of these. Well, the end on this slope and this slope are different, but then these are the exact same. The middle ones are the exact same. They kind of have that like tread pattern on there. So that's 6 stickers right off the top. If we look at the front of this, I actually really liked how this was done. These are stickers for the lights there, which is totally fine. And then the Bronco is 2 stickers there for the grill. They line up well. They're separate on here. They don't go over 2 pieces. It's 2 separate stickers, but I feel like the spacing is really, really good on those. We also have a little bit of a sticker right there. On the other side, we have another one. And then if we look at the rear of this, the kind of Bronco license plate is a sticker. We have a Ford logo down there, and we have a Bronco up here. And then the only other sticker is inside, kind of for the dash area there. So not a ton of stickers. I think some of them like could be left off. They're not like super crucial if somebody wanted to, or maybe all of them could be left off. But I like some of them. Like I think these are pretty important to me. I really like how those look. But some of these other ones maybe don't matter. If we didn't want to use the traction boards or something, or have them on the kit, those could easily be left off as well. But I thought like putting the stickers on was pretty straightforward, not too complicated. They weren't on weird pieces, and they were easy to position. I think they add a lot to it, and I'm pretty pleased with all of that. And then diving into the build of this, it starts similar to other Technic vehicles, but this one has a ton of stuff packed into it. It's actually pretty dense, and I think that is conveyed best by like the piece count that I was mentioning at the very beginning of this, comparing it to other Technic sets of this scale. And there's a lot that goes into it. And so that's sort of what I was meaning about the pacing, is that, most of the building, I think at least the first three-ish bags of pieces is like all for the internals or for the underside, sort of building out the chassis and the mechanisms in here, because there are a lot of them. It is a Technic set after all. So very early on, we start by building kind of the front axle up here. And this is really interesting. There is steering on here. There also is an engine in there. And so like the engine pieces come together pretty early. There's also like suspension and kind of shocks in here for some sort of off-roading. I think the Bronco calls it like the goat mode, and it's like, I don't know, go on all terrain or something like that. But so that is in here, and there's a lot of like interesting sort of elevation changes for the gear work to make this all kind of fit in this small package. So the build up here was really interesting. I think there's some thought there was like a couple pieces that I was not 100% familiar with up at the front, but I'm not totally seeing it now. So really, really cool. We can see up on the front, we do have like one of those spring-loaded suspension pieces there, so we can kind of work with the front axle here, and they can both move. It's a little bit stiffer there, but not terrible. And then they can kind of rock back and forth like that as well. So these front ones share that same kind of shock or that suspension there. You can also see we have those same pieces used on the back, and the back we can kind of have one go, and we could also, I don't know if they can go, both down together. It seems like because this axle like it's not connected all the way through, but ultimately is like connected in a way that the front one isn't as much. We kind of have these shift like that, which is really nice. Build in here, very dense. The engine block we can kind of see like up through there, so you can see the pistons, you can see it on the bottom as well. That does have its own functionality. I don't think those pieces were new at all. I think I've seen those before. I'm trying to remember exactly what I thought was like a new piece. Let me grab the instruction manual so we can see, because maybe that will jog my memory a little bit. Because I was sort of like, oh, I don't know if oh, yeah, well, this piece, I guess I thought, I don't know if I had seen it before. It is this like axle connector piece, but it's sort of like four-pronged. So they have the one that's straight with the Technic pinhole in between them, and then they have these ones kind of coming off at the angles. And I don't know if I had seen that piece before. It seems like a useful piece, especially for stuff like this, but it was just kind of a surprise to me. But maybe I have seen that in some other like engine builds and things of that nature. That's a real possibility. I think there were, I mean, that might be the main kind of one at this point, but you can already see like the build process for this is very involved and like really, really cool. We sort of turn it all the way around. There's lots of like gears and things that need to interact with each other, gear changes and different stuff. And they do have in the instructions to like test well, they show like what's supposed to happen, which I found helpful, so I can like test the mechanisms as I'm building to make sure, if they don't work at this stage, I'd rather find out now than like after it is 100% complete. So I thought that was quite good. And these instructions are much nicer than the ones from from that old set from the year 2000, that Technic pit droid. So this was really, really great. So we start up at the front. Yeah, really early we build the engine, and we can actually take a look at that. We don't cover it until later, but we can flip this open. That's one of the little features there, is we can open up the hood. We have these like yellow pistons in there, and those are connected to the rear axle, such that if I'm like turning these rear wheels, I'm actually turning them by the like gearbox underneath. But let's see here. If we work both wheels at the same time, or I just do it on that gearbox kind of underneath, we can see the pistons sort of rise and fall, so that I think a V6 engine in there, which is really nice. We have good access in there. I like those pieces, and that feels pretty nice. So that is really, really good. And then we sort of build our way back, and actually in the center here, we use this kind of bigger rectangular beam piece, and we get connected to it in a bunch of different ways. That provides a lot of the structure for us, and we can build some of the structure on top of that. And then we work backwards and then get the rear axle on there. And the rear axle, like the front, is actually pretty involved as well. Pretty intricate building and some good techniques. I really like, they used this sort of ball joint pin piece here, which kind of, it doesn't really interact with the piece beneath it, but it is helpful. And then because these sort of pivot there, that sort of acts as like the fulcrum or something, even though it's not actually interacting there. You can see again, we have like a lot of changes in elevation for the different axles here. So this whole gearbox back here has the gears inside it as well, and we can do that. But then if these move together at the same time, we can operate this. And then this gear that connects to it is actually the yellow one in there, and so not the top one, and that is what connects to the engine. So there's some different changes in there. And then the one that actually goes through the middle is the steering, because there is like active steering on it, and this has like an whole change too, because that is the top one, but then the steering actually connects different. So they have some like gears in here that are activated by other gears, but through the center of it, like an axle can go through like a pinhole, so it doesn't actually catch. So like the axle through here for the engine can spin freely through the center of that gear. It's this middle one in there. It's maybe a little bit tough to see, but I thought that was really, really cool. So good stuff kind of stacked through there. I was actually surprised pretty early. We relatively early, we add on the seats. So there is kind of an interior here. I liked how the like headrests were done there. We do have doors on this, so we can open those up, and that gives us a little bit of better access in there. So this isn't like super dense in the middle here. It's actually, just like structurally, there's stuff that holds it together. We like stack these beams up out on the side, and like a lot of it is connected to this center rectangular element there. But we can like see through this, and we can see some of the mechanisms in there, especially for the engine kind of mechanism with that yellow kind of axle. But we do have like seats in here. They're pretty standard for Lego Technic vehicles of this size, using these kind of panel pieces, these curved pieces that I've seen used for fenders and seen used for like tons of other stuff on various Technic builds, but they are used for seats there, so that is good. We do have the steering wheel. This steering wheel is not connected to the steering, so we don't have like that kind of active steering. And then, yeah, that last sticker I was kind of pointing out is this center console here. It's a nice sticker. We get like a nice like GPS and some vents and different things, and it says Bronco right there. So that is good and easy enough to get in on that piece. which is really, really cool. So that's like an internal detail. I'm super fine with that. There actually is, I believe, supposed to be like the impression of a rear row of seats, which I think is what this kind of panel is supposed to represent, but I'm not positive. I mean, we can see it from the side, kind of see the angle that it's sitting at, and we can adjust that angle a bit if we so desired. You could like height it all the way down in there. You could also have it kind of leaning up, which I think is supposed to be like a rear seat, but obviously this is only a two-door vehicle here, and that is kind of nice. And then, once we built up the main mechanisms and the main sort of chassis, the core of all of this, the actual shaping of the vehicle comes together like very, very fast. The assembly for the hood is quite good. It has some like a couple different axes of movement that it can open up on. So we can just lift it, pretty much straight up, but it actually does has to come forward a little bit as well. So that is why we have this in here. So we can really open that up. And then when we put it back in, we have to kind of push it back and down to kind of slot in there. It feels really, really good. There's good amount of friction in here, so it's not like super easy. It's not flopping around or anything like that, and it just auto kind of realigns in there, which is great. I thought building the grill, the front area here, which you do relatively early because you're working on kind of the front axle really early, was nice to kind of get this subtle kind of curve here. So some good building in there using these kind of Technic pieces. There's also some good use of the like Technic half pins with the stud on it and the bar element on the back of it to go like through a Technic pin. I really like seeing stuff like that. It's really interesting, and it's a good connection, saves some space, so that is very good. Of course, we got some mirrors here. One of the other like new pieces I thought that was new to me at least are these fender pieces. So these are interesting because the kind of like panel piece behind there and then this black sort of trim area, those are separate pieces. The black trim actually has kind of like a groove in it, and I didn't know what they were going to be used for at first, because the instructions do have us like position them in a kind of a strange way, at least in my opinion. So let's see if we can look at what this does. So when we first add those black pieces, it has them like coming out the side. They're not up. And then later, as we build the subassembly for the hood and all of that, we can attach it on. And then when we do that, then we sort of rotate those black pieces up in there, and then there's like a groove that the kind of wall of the red panel here like fits into the groove in the black piece there, so that this isn't going to like rotate anymore. I thought that was really interesting. Actually, like the panel behind there that's kind of used for the fender seemed new to me as well, just because I think it's supposed to interact with this piece. But this piece, the black element there, certainly felt like something I hadn't seen before. I'm used to seeing like other pieces that are similar to the like red piece, that red kind of panel fender area, but they're usually like not just flat right there, and they might have some of this like curve area sort of built into it a little more, or this sort of flare out a little bit, and this didn't have that. It works really, really well for this, so I think that was nice. If those are new pieces for this set, I'm not 100% positive, but they were new to me. I don't think I've seen pieces that interact like that, where we kind of fit those together. Otherwise, they're not like connected. They're connected through other like external pieces or like sub-assemblies there, but they just sort of slot in and then feel really, really good, and they look really, really good. So it's great to get that sort of black trim in there, which is excellent to see. And then, same for the rear here. Actually, the build for like the hood is its own kind of interesting sub-assembly because it's not just the hood that you build. You kind of build it along with these side panels, and then the black pieces with the groove are already attached to the car, and then we kind of set the whole hood in there and connect that. There is some system or like brick system type pieces in here, so a couple like Technic bricks with the Technic pinholes throughout there. And then up on the top, we have this all tiled out, which is really, really good. No windscreen or windows in here, but the sort of bar for the frame of that is nicely done. We add that early, and then later we rotate that and connect it with the top kind of area here. I liked how the doors were done. They're pretty simple. They feel very sturdy. Some good building in there, and then the way that they like slot in to where sort of the hinge is created, and how that is connected, I thought was very, very nice and feels really good. So these can open and close really, really well. They're satisfying. They feel good. They feel flush with everything there. They also feel sturdy, a little bit more like system stuff up here with some tiles and slopes and different things. The doors are basically the same, just mirrored, but I really liked how those were built. The rear actually like doesn't have a ton going on here because we build, the rear kind of fender areas and the rear door or the back end of it, and that's kind of its own sort of little series of sub assemblies. We can see there's some more system stuff used in this. I say system, but it's like the brick system, but like tiles and plates and stuff. So this is all tiled out here. Same for these vertical frame pieces there. This is all tiled out around here. We have a little bit of that on the side for the like rear lights there. So that is all like tiles and plates and stuff throughout there, but I feel like it looks pretty good. And then we actually don't have any access in through the rear. That would have been really cool that if we could like open this up at the back. We do have like what looks like where like a handle would be or something like that. There's a pretty good reason why that's not there. And that is because we do have the spare tire back here, which is nice. I think, I don't know if I've seen these tires before. They're really, really nice for this model. They could be nice for other ones, but the like tread pattern and the size feels like a little bit different to me. They're not super stiff. They are, hollow, have air in there, but they use kind of the standard rim piece that is used for like a lot of different wheels. Maybe I've seen these before, but these felt really nice to me, which was cool. And the reason that, well, one of the reasons we don't have like a trunk or a boot or like a rear door for this is that the extra wheel here is actually how we articulate and control the steering, which I think is really great. Oftentimes for these types of vehicles, we'll have the steering up on the top, which is like sort of called, at least some people call it, I've called it in the past, the hand of God steering. So usually that's up here, which is fine. I can't remember if there've been other instances. I don't remember. The Jeep I thought had it up top, but we can use the rear sort of spare tire there to move those front wheels, which I think is a good use of that back piece and works well instead of having, the sort of gear sort of come up here. This just feels pretty nice to me. And if I'm playing with this, I can grab it from up here. I can grab it from the back to drive this forward and move this around. And it's not too bad to like get there. So, pretty good there. I think the turn radius is okay. Not terrible, not great, but feels all right. I'm working in a pretty small space, so I have to do a lot of point turns here, but that is okay. And this feels really good to grab. It is just the same wheel, same like kind of pieces that are used for the wheels. So that is really cool, I thought. But that means that, yeah, this doesn't like swing open or anything, because we do have the axle going kind of all the way through and then connecting to all these different gears and all these different things to allow for that to be the turning mechanism. So we can't like swing open the rear, which would have been cool, would have been really difficult to design. Good building in here, including some like these one by one tiles with the kind of vertical bar coming off of it, and like the mini peg hole in the center of it. Those are used to go into some like Technic pin pieces, or half pins with the stud on them. And then these are brackets used there. I thought that was all quite good. The rear sort of bumper area feels very finished, very nice. And any like sort of flaws of this is really just in, I think, the colors. And that is that, we do see the blue throughout. Now, that's pretty standard for any Lego Technic set. We see like some gray where maybe we wouldn't want it. We see some blue. I think that's the one that stands out the most. Occasionally, we'll see some tan in here. We'll see some yellow, and certainly we do for this one for various axles, for the kind of suspension pieces up there, as well as some of these like bushings and different stuff. Because a lot of this is red, the red pieces don't really stand out. The red and black and gray all feels like it works in here. But definitely when we look at the bottom, we can see some off colors. The engine specifically, they use kind of different colors there so that it can kind of be highlighted and easy to see there. I think that's just a design philosophy thing, and maybe it feels more like, yeah, this is a toy ultimately, and that sort of adds to it there. So I don't really dock these that many points for all of the blue. There are some that are, more obvious than others. But overall, it is okay. I mean, I do think this looks really, really good from the side. It's got a great profile, a great silhouette here. So I like that a lot. We can open up the doors, we can open up the top, and that is a nice way to display it. Feels really good. The shocks here, like the suspension here is really nice. We can kind of get this so three of the wheels are on the ground, but one of them is off or something like that, and we can push down the front there, which is good. We can push down the back there, and it just has a really nice rock to it, which feels like you could drive over stuff really easily. And even in this form factor made out of these pieces, feels like I could take this outside and drive this over rocks and gravel and roots and different things, and feel really good about it. So I do like that a lot. I feel like that's captured well. I know occasionally these elements can be a little bit stiff because the spring is a little too strong. I didn't encounter any significant like issues with that, so I wasn't too concerned about it. And then, like I say, the most of the parts are kind of all in the mechanism, in the axles, in the wheels, and the functional like pieces going between it. Like there's not a ton of pieces in the doors, but that's their own thing, the subassembly for the hood. But then once we actually get to like the frame and the roof of it, this comes together very, very fast. And that's sort of where the pacing like picks up, because all of a sudden it's done. Building the like panels for the roof there, really, really straightforward. It's using these same kind of panels that are used here. It's the same one that is used kind of for that rear seat there, the same one that's used on the door, sort of that bigger panel piece. We use like 5 of those up top. Really simple Technic building to connect them, but they look right. Then we just have like a frame, a border with some of these like axle connectors, and then we do add on like this light bar up here, and we add on the rack up top. I mean, the rack could come off, and I can show what that looks like without it. We can pop some of these Technic pins out of there. And that actually looks pretty good. We don't see a ton of weird colors from the top. I think this could totally be displayed without the rack on it, and not be a big deal. So we can get that on and off. We could make use of these traction bar pieces, super simple builds for these. Again, some like system stuff. I don't know realistically like how well they will work, but just if they were studded down on something, they would work fine, or if they're being held, they would work fine. But they're semi functional there, and they attach nice. They add some good little detail. This is super basic. It's a really simple frame using some Technic pieces that comes together very quick. Easy enough to put on and take off as far as like customizability, or different like options for trim or looks, or what this is intended to do. I think that's nice to be able to put that on, take it off. I don't know if any of the Lego images they show it without that. So it seems like it is intended to just be on there, but they do have some great images of posing this with a big boulder underneath it or something, and it just fits right at it feels right at home there. Works really, really good. So overall, I thought this was like a super fun build. I think it looks great, and one of the better ones of these. I did not know how enjoyable I was going to find this. I'm not like a car person necessarily, or a truck person, or an off-roader, so I don't know everything about vehicles, or what to call different portions of vehicles. I don't know their names or anything like that. But as like a Lego builder and a Technic builder and a medium fan of like Technic cars and Lego cars, whether it's Speed Champions or Icons or the bigger ones, or all the different stuff, like this feels really, really good to me. And I tend to like this scale of Technic sets. They just feel really good. They're like good display models and good play models. They fit in this nice little kind of middle zone compared to like the much, much bigger. I don't know if this is a 16th scale, or if it's 12th, or if it's 20th. I don't know exactly. This might fall somewhere in the middle, but it is really, really nice, feels great in the hand, and presents really, really well. So very, very pleased with this. I'll show the extra pieces because you do get some. It's your standard 1x1s, some studs, some tiles. We do make use of kind of the like rubber sort of bumper stop piece there, pins, axle pieces, bar elements, kind of bushing pieces all throughout here, and pretty standard for the extra pieces, light pieces that Lego adds in when packing the bags for the machines to be able to sense that those pieces were added in there. And these pieces are also prone, or could be prone, to be misplaced, lost, dropped, and difficult to find. So those are the extra pieces there. And this set is 943 pieces, and I paid $65 for it. It retails for $65. As I said at the beginning, I was sort of comparing it, the Aston Martin Valkyrie, $65, 707 pieces. So far fewer pieces than this one. The Chevrolet Stingray is $60, 732 pieces. And there are several other ones. The Hurricane is 806, but that retailed for $50 and could be pretty often available or found for 20% off. So off of $50 would make it $40. The Fast and Furious Supra, that's $60 for 810 pieces. Bolide is 905. Ferrari FXXK is 897 for 65. Koenigsegg Jesko is 801 pieces for 50. And then we get into like some of the weirder stuff. So like that that Porsche GT4E performance race car, 836 pieces, so over 100 pieces fewer than this, but more than double the price at $170. The Kawasaki Ninja, 643 pieces, so like 300 fewer pieces than this, but that retails for $85. It's got some bigger tires and bigger stuff, so it's just a different kind of set, which is interesting. So like Technic does, especially in like this range, this price range, and this scale, it goes a pretty wide it runs a pretty wide gamut, I would say. And then looking at, there was one that I believe released alongside this, and I mentioned it at the beginning, and that is the Volvo L120 electric wheel loader, which has 30 more pieces, so 973 pieces, but it retails for $120, which is essentially double the price of this. And I know it's got the big kind of bucket up at the front and things like that, but I was a little bit surprised. I would like to look at that one, but it doesn't seem like it's too this is Cecil, and he also really likes Lego and Technic. So Cecil. Oh, you're just going to sit down there? Okay, baby. Bye, Cecil. He just needs me to finish this review so I can give him attention. And so this fits, speaking of like the price and value, this I feel like is really nice. I think this is good value. And I thought like a lot of the Hurricane, the $50 sets, $60 sets, and this scale feels pretty good. And on the whole, like for the complexity here, for the amount of stuff here, for like what I have for the build process, it is dense because it might be a similar size to the some other set and have a couple hundred more pieces. And whether those pieces are like really little pieces like this, that might be the case. But there's just like a lot that goes into this. I feel like 65 is actually pretty good for this. So I'm really curious to see something that's like a very similar piece count release at the same time in Technic with that Volvo like L120, and see, why that one is so much more expensive. I will say for $65 for this, I'm perfectly happy with that. I would have loved for this to be $50 and for all of these to be like $50 in this range, but I think I understand it. I don't know if it's licensing or the partners or whatever else that factors into it. There's a whole bunch of things that factor into it. I think, the Jeep probably was $50, but could be found for 40, at least when I bought it. I think that has since retired. I don't know how many pieces that has off the top of my head. And there is some evolution and there has been some market conditions that have caused prices to go up, even for Lego and for Technic and for all sorts of different stuff. That said, like, I don't think that this one is too out of line. I think this just feels about right to me. And, if all we do is look at the price per piece, 943 pieces for $65 is quite a good deal if that is the metric we go on. So I'm glad this isn't, $900 or sorry, $90. 65 is a fine price for this. If we were taking 20% off the top, that would be like $13 off, which is going to get us to that $52 mark. Yeah, $52. And $52 for this, I think, would be really good. It scale wise, the amount of building, the amount of stuff, the final model, everything that goes into this. I have no problem saying $52 for this would be like a great deal. And I think 65, frankly, is a totally fair deal. So I'm really happy with this. I loved putting this together. I think it looks great. I think the color choices are really, really strong. And the build was incredibly fun, enjoyable, complex, dense and but also like straightforward. Instructions are very good, and I just think this is a great toy, great model here. So I'm very, very pleased with this. And I think that's everything. It's just a really, really good looking set, and was very well designed. So I'm super pleased with this. I don't think the price is that bad, so that is great. And I think Cecil liked it as well. That's why he needed to come over here and be in the recording space. So really, really positive experience for me. I'm super happy with this, and I think that is it. So if you like this video, please click the thumbs up and give it a like. Give it a like for Cecil, because I think that's the first time he is featured in the videos. And then if you like my other videos and maybe you want to see more Cecil occasionally, make sure you subscribe, and you can stay up to date on all the other Lego videos I'll be doing here in the future, including more Lego Technic, Lego vehicles, tons of other Lego sets from all different themes, all different shapes, size, price point, piece count, tons of different stuff. August 1st releases, September releases throughout 2025, as well as like old retired sets and all these sets in between. So if you're interested in my takes on those things, please subscribe. Helps me a lot. If you want to support this channel, you can do that on YouTube. You can give money to the channel if you would like. Membership, supers, and thanks are all ways to financially support the channel. There's a Buy Me a Coffee link. There's a Patreon. There'll be some affiliate links in the description. You can click on an affiliate link to buy this set, which will earn me a small commission from a major online retailer at no additional cost to you. There'll be links to buy like other sets or just generic brick built toys from a major online retailer, as well as like some equipment that I use and different things. But if you use any of those affiliate links and then click over and look for something else like a coffee table book or a spray bottle or gift bags or paper towels or something like that, whatever it is, if you use one of those links and then search for whatever you were going to buy anyway, I'll still get a small percentage of that, and at no additional cost to you. So every little bit helps, and it does add up. Maybe consider doing that if that is a place that you shop at anyway, because it does help me. I also have the merch, which I got to figure out how to get like TeePublic linked up with YouTube. I think there's a way to kind of integrate those. And I'm going to keep uploading more designs. I believe you can find it on TeePublic if you actually search for SoBricks now. For a while, you couldn't find it. You had to go with the link. There is a link in the description, link on my channel page. That will bring you there. I think there's some stuff on sale right now, and they do sales pretty regularly. You can get some designs that don't look like, they don't scream merch or anything like that, and I'm trying to like curate those and trying to be inventive and fun and trying to like design clothing and merch more than just like slap SoBricks on stuff, even though there is some of that as well. So if you want some cool merch, check it out. I like it. And I'm going to keep kind of doing more stuff there. If you have ideas for merch, if there's any like catchphrases or things that I say in videos, let me know and I'll put those on a shirt or something. So I appreciate that. And maybe consider checking that stuff out. Thank you very much. And with all of that said, until next time, thanks. Bye.